Hey everybody, this is Jacob Furr, and it is time to connect.
Hey, Jacob Furr, how you doing, man?
Hi, John. I'm good. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time to connect. We finally made this happen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while. And what you been up to?
Man, I have been this week. I've been submitting singles to radio stations all week. So, just sitting on the computer, tapping away, sending as many emails out as I can without Gmail blocking me for spamming people.
I know I saw one single. You said singles multiple, or the same? I know I saw that you
Oh
released.
yeah, just one. I don't know why I
Okay,
said multiple singles. Yeah,
okay,
it's
yeah,
just one
and
right now. There's more coming up. So
right
I'm
on.
doing that, and yeah, trying to write or finish writing some stuff this week too. I've got some. I booked a studio date for myself just out of nowhere, and was like, I'm just gonna see what happens if I do this. And so now I'm kind of like I have 2 weeks to like figure out some stuff to record, which is totally antithetical to the way that I've ever done anything. So I'm sort of very busy at the moment.
But I like that idea, man. It's sort of like I'm gonna impose an artificial deadline on myself and make it
Yes.
happen, and I'll make something happen. That's kind of like old school, man. Back when it was hard to get recordings done and you had to book studio time and you only had a limited amount of time. I've heard stories of even really big acts, hey, you got 10 minutes to do this song and that's
Oh
it.
yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
uh,
Yeah, no, I think I've got some songs. I made a little list last night, and I've got like there's at least 12 songs on that list that are like older. So I'm just gonna have to go through and just see like what works and what doesn't, and sort of dive into it a little bit for the next couple of weeks. But
that's
hopefully
cool.
something will happen. We'll see. Yeah.
Is it gonna all be originals, you think, or are you considering doing any covers on it?
I don't know. I might. I just don't know yet. Like we might get in there and like try some of the songs, and like I really dog. Hey, yeah. Hey, stop! It's the mailman. Sadie. Hey, cease and desist. Sorry,
Nice.
forgot to
No,
close. I
man,
forgot to
great.
close the front window.
It
Hey,
it's okay.
chill. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, sorry. Back to it.
Yeah,
Sorry, I forgot to close the window where they look out and guard the front yard.
it's okay, man. We're dog friendly here
Yeah.
on Time to Connect. Um, so let's
Anyways,
see.
so yeah, busy.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of music out on Bandcamp primarily, and we'll definitely put links here on the show notes. Is there anywhere else
Okay.
people can find your music besides Bandcamp?
Yeah, it's mostly on Bandcamp. There's some stuff on Spotify and Apple Music and all the other ones. But everything that I've ever done is on Bandcamp. So
Okay.
there's a large collection there. So
Yeah, right on. We'll definitely put the link there. So let's back up, and if you will, give us a little bit of a bio. You're born in Fort Worth, is that right, or no?
yeah, I was born here in Fort Worth, in 1986, the year of our Lord. And then I moved to Lubbock for college. And then after that, I moved to San Francisco for a little while, and then moved back here about, well, it's 2023. So like 12, 11 or 12 years ago, something like that. So yeah, I've been living here for a long time here in Fort Worth. So I love it.
Yeah, right on. I want to ask you about that, but let me stay with the kind of the bio. Yeah, how would you respond to the question, Jacob? What were you like as a kid?
I mean, from my recollection, I was a great kid. And from what I've been told, I was a very boring kid. I didn't get into trouble.
Really?
my, yeah, my mom has always said whenever friends of hers have had issues with their kids, she was just like, I don't know what they're talking about because you never did anything.
So you didn't go through a rebel period or anything like that, and make life difficult for your parents?
No, not until later on, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And what are your earliest memories of getting interested in music and wanting to play guitar?
Earliest memories would be, hey, seriously, with the sock. Okay, earliest memory. They're going crazy today.
Okay.
It's been raining here, and they've been cooped up, and it's like the most chaotic dog energy. Um,
We like dogs, man.
yeah.
Seriously, it's okay.
Anyways, earliest musical memory would be going. I went and saw a guy named John Michael Talbot play
Okay.
a long time ago, but nobody really knows who he was a songwriter in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
And he made some records with his brothers, and then he became a Franciscan monk, and he came back and played here, and he played a show with Barry McGuire
Oh yeah.
open for him, and I
Barry
think that
McGuire was that the Eve of Destruction guy?
yeah, and Barry opened for John Michael Talbot, and it was like that was the first like concert that I went to with like singer-songwriters.
Wow. Okay. Do you remember how old you were at that time?
I
Ballpark?
think I was like 11, 12, maybe
Okay.
11,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, I wasn't quite a teenager yet.
Yeah.
But I was playing guitar by that point because I took classical guitar early on. So
Uh,
yeah,
I got to
that
tell
was
you,
fun.
yeah, I got to tell you, just as a quick little point of interest, the first concert that I went to when I was about that age, but I'm older than you, I went to see Grand Funk Railroad,
Oh, very cool. All right.
and I was really excited about Grand Funk. I had heard of the opening act, but I wasn't that interested in them. Um, but before the opening act came out, a guy came out and got on the mic, and he said, "We got some bad news. The opening band is not going to be able to make it. They actually got their truck hijacked,
Oh
full of
no.
their equipment, and so they're not going to be here. We do have a replacement band, but if you want your money back, you can go back to the ticket booth and get your money right now." And I don't know, man. I looked around, a handful of people went back, but we were here to see Grand Funk. Well, that opening
Yeah.
act that we missed,
Yeah.
a little band called Pink Floyd,
Oh.
opening
they
for
got
Grand Funk.
they got hijacked.
Their truck, well, that was their story. God knows what it really was, but
Oh,
their
okay.
story was they had a lot of equipment, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They had a bunch of stuff. Yeah, they
And
had the
it
whole.
supposedly got stolen, and so, but I don't know, and I'd never thought about that until you just asked that question, but in retrospect now, I'm thinking, maybe that was a bullshit excuse that they just weren't gonna make it, you know?
Well, I don't know. Now I want to read like a Pink Floyd biography of the band and see like if that's ever mentioned.
Yeah,
Like go back to the archives and be like, when did they get their stuff stolen?
we should check that out. So when you went to school at, Tech in Lubbock,
Yeah, went to
and
Texas Tech.
were you gigging there by that time or not?
Like kind of, I did coffee shops, and then I was in a Celtic ensemble.
Nice.
We played a bunch of Celtic music, and then yeah, that was pretty much it for that. I didn't really get into. I didn't get into like the red dirt scene there or anything. It was mostly just coffee shop stuff and like the house show scene. Like there were a bunch of like indie bands and stuff that were doing house shows
Mhm.
back then at that time. So
Did
yeah,
you did you
that was
did you
what I
feel
did.
the spirit though of the Flatlanders and Buddy Holly?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely is a place that makes you write for sure, for real. I don't know anymore. Maybe back then there's a mystique to it. Because my first apartment there, I remember, was on the very edge of town, and it's not even close to the edge of town anymore. Like, and I mean, it was like you would leave the back door of my apartment, and it was just a cotton field. It's you could walk into the cotton field, and now that yeah, it's so built up that I don't know that. I mean, I used to walk back there and just like sit on my back porch and watch the thunderstorms come over all the cotton fields. So that's a pretty magical experience to have.
Mm, yeah,
So yeah, it definitely felt some sort of spirit moving out there. It's a pretty wild place.
it is for sure. Have you ever heard the story Joe Ely tells about picking up Towns Van Zandt,
Oh
hitchhiking?
yeah, in the Volkswagen.
And Towns had a backpack full of albums he just cut in LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder about the truth of that story. I'm sure there's a lot of truth in it, but I wonder if Joe is exaggerating a little bit because he said, "I took that album and I went and I showed it to is either Butch or Jimmy Dale. I think it's Jimmy Dale. We played it and it just turned our heads around and we just knew we wanted to do this kind of stuff." I mean, that's awesome if it happened that way, but it almost sounds a little bit like, you
I
know,
don't know. I've played with Butch twice. I've opened for him, I think twice. and he kind of tells that story too a little bit. So
Really?
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Wonderful.
it as a founding mythos, it works out pretty well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That's cool. Hey, pandemic is I don't know if it's completely over, but it's, we're out gigging again, and when you don't see a whole lot of masks and whatnot, and I think we're pretty much through it. How difficult was the pandemic for you?
I mean, money wise, challenging for a little bit.
Mhm.
But I planted garden boxes in people's backyards during the pandemic, so like we could all stay distanced from each other and nobody had to have any contact. And I would just come in and plant a
Mhm.
bunch of plants. And so I had a really good response to that. People really seemed to enjoy that.
Cool.
So I thought that would just be like a sort of like, pay the rent sort of thing. And then it sort of ballooned into this bigger thing than I could even handle. So,
Nice.
so that was nice. But I mostly, if I'm being honest, I mostly just enjoyed not having to do anything and sort of just like having the world shut down for. I think that the initial shutdown period was like the easiest, right? Like
Yeah.
those like 2 months where it was like you
Well,
can't
for
go do anything.
for
And
people
then
who
sort of
don't
like,
mind, people that don't mind social, they don't mind being alone, don't mind not socializing. It was pretty nice for a
oh,
lot of.
I loved it. Yeah, it was like, yeah, it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think it got weird once things started opening back up and all the rules were sort of like
Yeah.
vague and changing and nobody, so that was, I think that was harder sort of afterwards as everything was sort of opening. But the initial shutdown period, I was pretty happy about
Yeah.
it,
Were you
honestly.
able to write much during that time, or did you write much
No,
during?
I didn't write anything. I know a bunch of people that did, or like, sort of like wrote about their pandemic experience. And I honestly didn't find it that personally that interesting.
Mhm.
Because I don't know, it just was like a relief in a way to just
Mm,
be like,
mhm.
oh yeah, I don't have a responsibility to be like doing something right now. Like I'm
Mm,
not
mm,
required to be like creating and pumping out, stuff into the machine.
mhm.
So I'm just going to enjoy myself and enjoy not having to do anything and not having it be my fault, or like, yeah, it lifted
The guilt?
that critical voice. Yes, that
Yeah,
guilt. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
the critical voice of guilt that's like, oh, you're not creating, oh, you're not doing anything. It
yeah.
lifted it off and it was just like, I can't.
Right,
Cool, this is great.
right. I was relatively prolific. I wrote a bit. It actually kind of, I've probably been more prolific songwriting in the last 3 or 4 years than I've been in my whole life, and
Oh, that's very cool.
kind of started with the pandemic. I had so much downtime, but I have talked to a number of people who, like yourself, songwriters who didn't write much. In fact, I talked to interviewed Greg Schrader the other day, and he was saying he didn't write much during that time, and for him,
Yeah.
a lot of it was because he gets ideas and feeds off the energy of being out and having experiences. And it's like I'm at home, and it's just like
Yeah,
I'm
what am I gonna,
missing
yeah.
that aspect. Yeah, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I
So
love, yeah, Greg and I have talked about that quite a bit. And yeah, we're very similar in that like you have to be out. I have to be out traveling to do anything really to
yeah,
like let my head open up. So when I'm at home, which I liked it. I was into it. I was like, hell yeah, I get to stay at home.
yeah. And I know you have done some. You've been a little bit of a, I don't know if I'd call you a road dog, but you've been out. You've gone on the road playing some music. I know you stay around Fort Worth a lot, but you've had your experiences on the road.
Yeah.
Any fun road stories that you can share with us? Anything memorable that you remember, that crazy things that happened?
Oh man. Well, I said earlier I'm going back through some old songs and I found some stuff about a trip that I took to Carlsbad and like Hobbs a while back with my
Yeah.
friend Stefan Prigmore. Um, and yeah, just like I found a bunch of notes of like characters and people that I met on that little week or two. I guess it was 2 weeks we were in New Mexico.
Hmm.
But yeah, but I never turned them into anything. But now I'm looking back at them, I'm like, oh yeah,
Oh,
there's some
cool,
stuff in here. So
cool. Yeah, yeah. That's so much of what songwriting is for me. It's processing memories into images and words,
yeah, for sure,
and
absolutely.
yeah. So no crazy road stories.
No, it's like I said, like I was not a wild kid and I'm not a wild man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I tend to just do my thing and sort of just keep to myself for the most part. So
I know a lot of people talk about things like, when you're playing on the road, people inviting you to crash at their pads and that kind of thing, and that turns into something crazy. But as you get older, you're like, hey, thanks for the invitation, but you know, I already
Yeah,
got
I'm
a hotel
okay.
reservation, so
Yeah, I got a hotel. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
all right. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've stayed at some pretty shady hotels, just
Oh
because,
yeah.
had to keep it cheap. But for the most part, yeah, that's what I tend to do. I'm a solitary person, so a house party at 4 o'clock in the morning has never been my thing.
Never, yeah, yeah. I get.
even even when I was a kid, like or in college, it was just like, nah, I'm all right. I'm gonna go home.
I think that the shadiest hotel I recall staying in, the they had like a what do you call it? Not the curtains, but like blinds. You know, but it's just the solid blinds made out of some kind of plastic material, something.
Oh yeah.
And I went to raise them, and it literally started flaking and falling apart. I said, "Okay, not gonna touch it."
Oh, never mind.
Then in the middle of the night, I was woken up with something banging on the floor underneath my bed, and it was 2 cats fighting underneath the hotel room. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah. I never
Yeah,
thought
that's
about
good
turning
stuff.
that stuff into a song, but maybe I could. So, so you mentioned you love Fort Worth. What do you like most about living in Fort Worth?
Man, everybody here is just super friendly. I love playing music here. Like tonight, the day that we're recording this, I've got a show that I'm gonna go play with a band called Holy Moly that's been around for a long time. Those classic like cowpunk guys that are just awesome and sweet human beings. But they asked me to open for them. So then I'm opening the show, and then there's another band that came out of another band that's playing in the middle, and then Holy Moly's playing. But
Mhm.
then, like across the street, they're doing this huge outdoor free concert that they do during the summertime here in Fort Worth. That's got like four other incredible acts, and everybody. We've all been talking to each other about how we're excited about Friday night to happen, because it's like we all get to
Yeah.
but it's like that most weekends. Like you can go anywhere and meet your friends, and everybody's super into what everybody else is doing and very supportive of it. So I love that about the music scene here in Fort Worth,
Supportive,
especially.
supportive, non-competitive
Yeah,
songwriters.
everybody's just
Yeah,
friendly and likes each other. It's
that's
great. I
good.
love it. Yeah.
And you're still doing? Are you still doing the Jacob Furrsdays at the Post?
Yeah, I just did one last night,
Last night.
and
Yeah.
yeah, we had a good one. Bill Hearn played inside, so
Oh, cool.
yeah, we had a real. It's always fun. Like there's always somebody important or significant playing inside on Thursday. So
Yeah.
we do our thing on the patio, and like last night, I had my friend come play fiddle with us, and we just had a lot. It was a beautiful evening, and then went inside and watched Bill Hearn play for a little bit, and it was
Cool.
just yeah, it's
Yeah.
just the best. I love it.
I saw Bill and Bonnie Hearn for the first time at the Kerrville Folk Festival
Oh yeah.
in maybe 1976 or seven.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and they were so good, man. I'm sure he was good last night. And I actually had the pleasure of sitting in with you once at that gig, and I'd love to come up and do it again sometime.
Oh yeah, you're always welcome. Yeah, Thursdays are always open and free, and
Cool.
we
Cool.
have a good time. Yeah, I love doing it. I've been doing it for 3 years now, and it's just my favorite thing in the world. We've got a good little community of people that show up. That everybody's friendly and
Yeah.
attentive, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
The, ti-
it's wonderful.
the time I was there, the vibe was great, man. Very friendly, and yeah, and let me just a slight switch in topics, but staying with Fort Worth. If someone was coming to Fort Worth for the first time and said, "Hey, give me a good restaurant recommendation," what are some of your favorite places to eat there?
Oh man, uh, that really depends on what you're looking for. I would say if you're gonna come to Fort Worth, you need to go to oh, what's it called? It's over in it's like just south of the Stockyards. Los Asaderos is the name of this
Okay.
Mexican restaurant that's just south of Stockyards. That's my favorite Mexican restaurant in town.
Okay.
It's like it's south of Joe T. Garcia's and all that other garbage that people go to. Um,
Hey, man, that's an institution.
yeah, it's an institute. Yeah, if you want to wait in line, that's fine.
Yeah.
But Los Asaderos is like down the street, and it's just really good. I love that
Okay.
spot. So I would say
Cool.
if you want Mexican food, go there. There's lots of other places that have good stuff like that, though.
Okay.
Trying to think of the last place we went to. Oh, we went to this place called Bankhead Brewing a while back that was really
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I love it. They're
Yeah.
all good. But yeah.
It seems like there's so many places popping up, Houston and Austin and even here in Bryan College Station, the breweries that have live music and
Oh
people
yeah, for
food
sure.
trucks and people bring the dogs and the kids and it's a
Yeah, it's a
family
thing.
almost yeah, is that happening in Fort Worth?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's been happening for a while. Yeah, we've had breweries here forever.
Yeah.
It started with like RAR and all that sort of stuff, and
Yeah.
then like that whole sort of subculture
Mhm.
came along, and so now there's a bunch of them. And yeah, I played a couple of them, but yeah, those are always like friendly,
Yeah.
especially like Fort Brewery is another one that's like they do good shows there on the weekends, but then if you go on Sunday afternoon, it's a bunch of kids running around, and families and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's all very open and friendly.
Well, one thing I like about playing those gigs is it's usually an afternoon gig. I
Yeah.
I can be home. I can be home and in bed by 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about I'm playing this show tonight, and it's like, "What time do we go on at?" And they're like, "Well, you go on at 9." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I'm playing with Holy Moly at like 11, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah.
whew, okay, I gotta
Yeah.
pace myself. Here we go."
Right. Right. Yeah, gotta be careful not to drink too much before.
Yeah.
So who are list for us, if you will, some of the influential songwriters, people who inspired you not only just to love music, but to maybe to write as well.
Oh, let's see. I think I would put a guy named Rich Mullins at the top of that list. He's a writer from Nashville in the '90s that passed away early 2000s. And then I've always been, I don't know, I grew up on like Jim Croce and Tom Petty
Hmm.
and but, uh, kind of I listen to I've been told for a long time that I do a very similar thing to Gordon Lightfoot, especially with the way that I strum my guitar when I strum
Hmm.
and sing. Like I've got a little vocal thing that I do that's similar to Gordon, and
Hmm.
that's sort of like I was reminded of that when he passed away. What was that, last week or week
Yeah.
before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it was just sort of like going back to some of his stuff and be like, oh yeah, I
Yeah.
remember this. Like I remember growing up with this song. So
Yeah.
yeah, people like that. I love the folkies.
When I was a kid, man, "If You Could Read My Mind" was a big one for me. I thought that
Oh,
was such
dude.
a great song. Well,
Yeah.
for people who haven't heard you, if they just heard that, they would think that you were just an acoustic sort of a folk guy, but you rock out pretty good too, man. I've
Yeah, we make noise sometimes.
I've told you that your song "Return" reminds me of the Bottle Rockets before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
and yeah, I love that kind of music as well. That stuff that I don't know what you call it. I kinda don't like the labels, folk rock,
Oh, for
Americana,
sure. Yeah.
whatever, but it's got the grit of rock, but a little bit of the twang of country. I kinda along with some fairly literary approach to lyrics, and that's the stuff I love, man.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, I try to put, um, at least poetic lyrics with the rock stuff when we do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not much of a blues man, like you got your
Mhm.
which I think that's great, the people that are. I've just never been much of a, gut writer,
Mhm.
I'm more of like a head and heart writer, so it's like it comes out a little bit more, I don't know, I just take my time longer
Mhm.
with songs.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like to get loud. Like I do ambient music too.
Okay.
I do a whole bunch of stuff. Like I just love doing it. It's fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
the rock and roll, we haven't done that in a while, but we should probably put the
Yeah.
band back together at some point and do it.
Yeah, yeah. And do you feel the need when you're writing a song, do you feel the need to tell a story? Do you feel a need to maybe that's not the right way to ask it. Um, do you like having a relatively clear narrative line, or are you okay with sort of impressionistic lyrics?
I think both. I know that's a cop
Yeah.
out
No,
answer.
it's
But I think that things need to make sense in a song to me.
Mhm.
Um, so and not like simplistically make sense. Like even if it's a
Yeah.
complex sort of like poetic thing
Mhm.
that takes some like chewing on, I feel like it needs to have some sort of line that connects everything, whether or not that's narrative or not. Um, doesn't matter because I think everybody that
Yeah.
writes has a legitimate reason for writing the way that they're going to write it. But for myself, yeah, I like to see a connection between everything, and the way that it all sort of like flows together from the beginning to the end. I'm not much of a storyteller songwriter either.
Right.
Well, I guess I am more
Sort of.
like
Yeah.
more than I give myself credit for. But I'm not like, well, Jim went down to the bar, or
Right.
something
Right.
like that. It's like it's not. It's always very much like first person stuff,
Yeah.
or sort of metaphorical story stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a couple that are story songs I should probably
Sure.
finish.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting that if you the way we're so steeped in language, and we so much of meaning comes from us sort of imposing something on it. One of the
Yeah.
things I found, I've literally tried to write songs where I keep a journal with just literally a line. I'll hear a line, I'll hear someone
Okay.
say something, or I'll think of a line, and a lot of times it's a twist on a on a pun or something that I like. But it could be just something like, um, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But the point is, I've tried to write songs where I just take scraps like that and throw them together. And
Uh-huh.
you know what happens? I end up going, oh, I see how this connects to this and this connects to that, even though you didn't intend it. So it ends up having its own kind of internal logic. It's almost hard to escape.
Yeah, I don't remember who I was listening to or reading a while back. Oh man, who was that? I can't remember. Anyways, the point of it was like that songwriting is archaeology. So the thing is down there already, and you're just sort of like seeing the vague form of it. And like, if you took the satellite image of where the town was, you could see the outline of it and go, oh, okay. Like, so
Nice,
I'm gonna zero in and zero in and zero in and zero in and finally get down there to like the,
nice.
sort of clearing away all the extra stuff until you finally get down to what it was from the beginning.
I think there's a song in what you just said, actually.
Well,
But
I can't do it because I know that I read it from somebody else. So I
ah,
don't know. I just don't remember who it was.
right. But even you take a song like Poncho and Lefty. I mean, just when you a casual listen, it sounds like Towns is just telling a story about two guys. But wait a second, who is Poncho and who is Lefty, and does this really does it really flow together? And I heard Willie Nelson say that he asked Towns, "What's that song about?" And Towns says, "I have no idea."
Yeah.
Willie says, "I believe him."
Yeah.
But it has that, like you said, it does have a line in the sense that there's a feeling of a story, and there's two characters that are a little bit fleshed out, but you don't really know. And
Yeah,
I
because
love that. I love that.
anything can be a connection, right? Like
Yeah,
your metaphors
yeah,
between each one can be a connection. The imagery that you're using, that's where I always lean into, is like more of like the imagery sort of things. So
you
I
bet.
really like natural imagery to like sort of care. It's very Victorian of me to like be like, the weather felt like this today,
Yeah, yeah,
So like that's, yeah, anything can be a line. So yeah, Poncho and Leslie, that's a great one because you sort of get this like dusty western sort of thing, about these two characters that are sort of like, you know, they don't even know who they really are,
right, right. Yeah,
Yeah, and we
yeah.
don't know what the action is, but like the scene is set at
And what does
least.
Ohio have to do with it? I mean,
Yeah,
there's little moments, if you really look at
it
it,
rhymes.
yeah,
It
yeah,
fit like
yeah,
within
yeah,
the line space.
yeah. But the thing is about that kind of writing and stuff that's even more impressionistic is it's so open to interpretation, and it allows us to bring our own. It's not tied down where you know exactly what it is,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think it's a lot more provocative, a lot more interesting when we do that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question that has been something that's been bothering me lately. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, man, I've been playing guitar for 50 years. You'd think I'd be better at this point because I'm okay. Yeah, we've played together. I'm okay, and
Yeah.
to untrained ears, a lot of people say, "What do you mean? You're great. You're fine." But playing with someone like yourself, I could show you, and we could have a good conversation that you might even say, "Yeah, man, you probably ought to be better after 50 years."
No.
But my friend said, "Wait a second. How much time have you spent really practicing?" And I said, "Yeah, not much. I mean, I play songs, but in terms of really, trying different things, like trying to learn finger picking style on certain songs that I just kind of strum and that kind of stuff. I don't do much, so I'm going to try to do more. It's one of the things I want to try to work on, even at my age. You can teach an old dog new tricks, and I'm going to work on my guitar playing. And I know
Yeah.
you teach guitar. I'm just wondering, how much time do you spend practicing yourself? Literally just practicing guitar.
It kind of depends on the week, but usually I'll practice at least on the days that I'm teaching for sure. Like I'll go in early and just like have something that I'm interested in and sit and sort of like try to figure out how to work it.
Okay.
Because I'm like you, I'm the same way. Like I've been playing for so long, and I took classical that there's, I see people play and I'm like, I should probably be better than I am. Like, but at the same time, we are what we are, and the
Right.
guitar. That's the beautiful thing about the guitar is that it's a very personal instrument. So whatever your relationship to it is, I think that's great. But yeah, I don't know. As a teacher, I tell my students like at least I mean, here's the secret, right? You're only going to get better based on the amount of time that you practice, right? You will always get better no matter how much time you put in, but you're going to get like, exponentially better. So it's like, well, if you get 10 minutes a day, because you're like, you're an adult, so you have an adult life with adult responsibilities. You don't have time to sit in your bedroom and just play guitar like a kid that's, learning how to play guitar does. So it's like, okay, if you get 10 minutes a day to like sort of go over something new, great. Like that's
Yep.
awesome. You will have improved by that little bitty much
Yep.
each day, and that is great. I think we approach it with this idea of like, well, if I can't put in an hour, then there's no reason to do it. And it's like, no, if you put in 10
Yep.
minutes, that's fine. Like you will not progress, so fast that you're going to be like, oh my god, next year I can rip this solo or whatever. But you will be increasing your knowledge of the thing slowly as time goes along. So I think there's a lot of value in that 10-minute sort of just like pick an idea out, try it out for a minute, come back to it later. Just keep plugging away in little tiny bits every day, especially for adults because we don't have a lot of time.
And
So
I'm totally down with that idea. And it reminds me of some of the best advice I ever got from an old mentor of mine, Jimmy Killingsworth, who was a professor here at A&M and is a fine mandolin player, actually. And he's living out in Taos now. But I was talking to him one time and he just kind of casually said, have you played much lately? And I don't remember what he said, but he asked me, and I said, man, I don't think I've touched a guitar in like 2 weeks. And he said, dude, no, 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 every day. I said, no, I can't every day. He goes, every day. And I said, no, I don't have time. He said, every day, at least pick it up and play for 5 minutes. And
yeah,
make that a commitment where you are not. And one of the secrets to being able to do that is to have your guitar right there
I
where
was gonna.
I don't have to take them out of the case and have them right there handy. And maybe it's right before I go to bed. My girls are in bed and I pick up a guitar and play for 5 minutes. At least do that. And I have
Yeah.
improved a lot since I've been doing that.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that you said that about keeping them out because that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, it's not meant to be kept in the case to begin with. And
Yeah.
if you set it down beside your bed or I always tell people like just get a guitar stand, a nice solid guitar stand, and put it by the couch that you watch television on the most. And then when the TV's on and you're watching the news, you're doing whatever, and it's your wind down time, pick the guitar up and don't even think about what you're doing. Just run these real simple little exercises
Yep.
or just it doesn't have to be some sort of intense thing. um but I do think it has to. I don't know, I think you'll grow in your love for it the longer
Mhm.
you do it and the more you do it, and that just makes you want to play more,
Yeah.
because when you're not good at it and you're starting out, you got to have a lot of encouragement to pick
Yeah.
it up. So you're like, it hurts, it's not
Right.
fun, I don't know what I'm doing,
Right.
and you're like, well, okay. And then once you figure out what you're doing, it's like, oh, I can just sit down and just play anything right now. Like, this
Yeah.
is so much fun. I want to do that all the time.
My new project is using
Oh,
these
oh,
thumb
buddy.
picks.
Oh, buddy. Yeah.
And when
I've
you
been on
first
those.
I've been playing for so long that when I first started messing with this, it was so awkward. It's like, no, I'm putting that down. But no, no,
I
no, man, you've got to stick with it because it too will become natural.
I did the exact same thing this
Yeah.
past year. Like, yeah, just started on the thumb picks. Have you tried the Fred Kelly picks?
No, but I just ordered a Black Mountain thumb pick. It's great. It's shaped. It looks like just
Yeah.
a pick, and it's got a little wrap around. It's not
Mhm.
quite as this is so different than the normal pick that I use.
Uh-huh.
Part of it is just getting used to that. But tell me about the
Can
pick.
this will change your life. I swear, I promise. Like everybody that I know that when I was doing the thumb picking, they were all like, no, don't get anything else. Buy these picks. And I was
And
like,
what are they
okay,
called?
cool. They're called Fred Kelly. They're the Fred Kelly thumb picks.
Okay.
And he has two of them. And let me see if I can find this real quick. Fred Kelly thumb picks. Yeah, you can get them. I mean, I'm looking at it on Amazon right now.
Okay.
He's got one that's called the Slick Pick,
Uh-huh.
and then he has one that's called the Speed Pick. And what you're going to do if you're having trouble with the thumb pick is you're going to buy that Speed Pick one, and you're going to use the Speed Pick one because it's cut in this way where there's three prongs on the end of the pick. Instead of having a solid end, it's three things where two of them. Oh, sorry, wrong fingers. Yeah, I can't hear. I'll do it like this, so I'm not flipping anybody off. It's like, it looks like this, so that two of the prongs are shorter and one's sticking out, right? So it's like having this really thin little pick in the middle. So when you're doing it with your thumb for the first time and you're trying to like feel what it feels like,
Yeah.
it feels more like your thumb is connected because it's like it's not as hard of a hit.
Yeah.
And then once you do that for a little while, this is just what I did. I did that speed pick for a little bit, and then once I did that for a little bit, I moved up to the slick picks that he has, and they're harder, like right. They're more like that Jim Dunlop one that you have, and then from there you can sort of like move into, like, I think I saw a video of Tommy Emmanuel talking about his thumb picks, and the guy that was interviewing was like, well, which one, what thumb pick is your favorite one? And he just reached in his pocket and he had like 20 different thumb picks. And he goes, well, these all do different things depending on like how sweaty my hand is, if I've had enough water that day. Like, like he was like, yeah, it's a very intimate thing. So he's like, so I have all these different picks for all these different situations. And, you just kind of go through and find the one that fits because it has to feel natural on your thumb. So yeah, anyways, sorry, speed pick, Fred Kelly speed pick, Fred Kelly slick pick, change your life. You'll start doing it and you'll be like, oh, this is easier. This is way easier than I thought it was.
Okay.
Because the Jim Dunlops, they're too thick to start with. Unless you've started playing, unless that's how you started playing guitar.
Yeah.
Those they're so hard to wrap your head because it just feels so weird.
It does. Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, man. Thank you. I will definitely try that. Well, listen, man, time's getting away from us a little bit here. I want to start winding down, but here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
And one word answers are fine, or if you want to expand a little bit, that's fine.
Okay.
Do you sing in the shower?
Yeah, I do. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
Have you ever named one of your guitars? Or do you have names for your guitars?
No.
Yeah.
No.
If not music, what would you be doing?
I would want to be either a librarian or a history professor, one of the two. Once again, something very quiet where I get to be alone.
Gotcha. Speaking of that, I know it's impossible to name one, but what comes to mind if I say favorite books that have had an impact on you that you?
Oh man, so many of them. I would say that in the most recent years, I just finished the Isaac Asimov series. The whole thing, Empire, Foundation, the whole 9 yards is great. And then this other one called Jerusalem by Alan Moore. That was a sort of a personal challenge to read that book, and it was just sort of game changing creatively in my head for how to be free when you make art. So
okay. Say just a little bit about how you think of Bob Dylan. What does he mean?
I love Bob Dylan. Yeah, he's one of the first ones, first songwriters that I got into early on. I think he was secondary to some of the other people that I found, just based on timeline of discovering things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's the master of letters.
Amen, brother. One album. You can only listen to this for the next month. That's the only album you get to listen to.
Oh, for the next month. What am I on right now? I don't even know, man. That's a hard one. Sorry, I know this is rapid fire. I have too many in my head right now.
No pressure.
Oh, let's just that Chris Smither, Live as I'll Ever Be. That's I'll go with that one.
Okay, good. I've had guests before play songs on as part of this, but it doesn't work out real well because the internet sometimes is spotty, and there's.
Dude.
But
Yeah.
if we had that working, and I asked you to play one song of yours and one cover, what would you do?
Oh, I would play, well, right now, because I'm promoting trying to promote a single,
Yeah, you play your new single.
I would play a single, "Take Care," but, I mean, it's a beautiful song, I love that
It
song,
is, man. It is.
I would play it probably anyways,
Yeah, beautiful.
um, and then cover-wise, because that song's in drop D, I would probably my favorite cover right now that's sort of hard to fit into sets because it's kind of sad and melancholy, is, "Bees Wing" by Richard Thompson. I love
Mm,
that song, so
yeah. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Films. Favorite film or films that come to mind when I say what are some of your
I
favorites?
I don't have an answer for this one because I can't like, I have this, like, blank space for movies, like, I'll watch movies
Really?
and
Okay.
then
Okay.
I don't remember. Like, I
Okay.
like Coen Brothers movies, but that's, like is that I can't tell you the titles of any of them.
Okay. Okay. Fair
It's
enough.
really weird. I don't know how that is, but
It's okay. Um, you have any guilty pleasures? Anything people would say, "Oh, really? Jacob does that, or he likes that," or
Oh, besides beer, no.
I see what you mean. That's not what we usually mean by guilty pleasure, but yeah, I'm a beer fan too, and I often, as my waistline expands, I
Yeah.
feel guilty about that love.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly, and I like it so much is the problem, like, I really enjoy it quite a bit, so it's one of those things where I'm like, "Yeah, this is my favorite."
so let's say you've got a young kid that's a nephew or a neighbor kid you like, and he says, "Hey, I want to be a songwriter." What's your first advice for a kid like that?
Um, well, I would ask them first if they've written anything at all ever. Like, have you written poetry? Have you written a diary entry? Or it, what have you written? You know, and then from there, I would probably because I do teach music on the side, and I've really enjoyed teaching. I would probably say like, well, do I have your permission to look through it? Like,
Mhm.
you sitting here with me. Let's look through this, and then I would sort of go through and sort of just try to like show them like here's a this is what the start of a song looks like. Like this is where the beginning point would be at if you were just writing out stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then yeah, after that, then obviously you kind of go into the music side of things. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I would just ask, Matt, what have you written so far? Like what kind of things have you written? And let's
Yeah,
dive into
yeah,
that.
that's good, and just get curious. I was actually listening to there's a relatively new Lucinda Williams biography, and I was listening to her read it on Audible yesterday, and man, there's some great stories in that thing. If you like her at all, or maybe even if you don't like her, it's worth a listen or a read. She said,
Okay.
but she mentioned that before she quote made it, she had some great stories about how people at record companies said, "Yeah, we like this song, but it's not done yet. You're going to need to finish it before we can record it because there's
Oh,
no
for sure.
bridge.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
bridge, and a song must have a bridge."
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Tell
Yeah,
that
for
to Bob
sure.
Dylan. Yeah, yeah. Okay, a couple more questions, man. What's the one thing you're probably most proud of?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, this is a musical podcast in interview, so I would probably say just the albums that I've been able to make.
Hmm.
I don't think when I started out doing this that I thought it was like a viable thing. I think I was just curious about it from the
Hmm.
beginning, and by viable I mean like that I would be doing it this
Right.
long later, and be able to do it like sort of as a job, where this is my entire life is playing music and
Beautiful.
writing songs and teaching music and all that kind of stuff. So I don't. I would say that I'm fairly proud of that fact that I've been able to turn uh, music into not turn music into that sounds bad, but to build a life where I get to make music all the time.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Last two questions. Do you have any? I know we don't know what happens when we die, but we know we're going to die. You know, I actually heard recently. I heard Peter Case talking about when he kind of had that revelation. He was a young kid, 4 or 5 years old, and the neighbor lady who gave him cookies and candy died, and it was like, whoa, shit, people die. I'm gonna die. We're all gonna die. My daughter actually mentioned that to me the other day that she's starting to think about that, and I tend to think it's just because I'm getting old.
Yeah.
I do think about it a lot more. I've lost a lot of people in my life. I lost one of my best friends recently, and the first time in my life where I've lost someone, a peer, that wasn't like a car accident or something. It was natural causes, and it really starts hitting home. We don't know what happens when we die. Do you have any speculations? Do you have any thoughts about that mysterious question?
I don't know what happens when we die. I don't really, I don't know. It doesn't, uh, I don't know. I don't think we can know. I mean, the one of the main concepts about it is that like energy is an eternal thing, right? Like there's no destruction of energy or creation of energy. There just is energy, and that's true as far as we know it so far. So I
Mhm,
think maybe if we are sort of energized by something and we are some sort of vibration,
mhm.
then possibly that vibration goes on.
Yeah.
But I don't know what our consciousness becomes on the other side of it.
Yeah, such an interesting, to me, such an interesting question, because we do not understand what consciousness is. I mean, science does not understand consciousness. I mean, they just don't, and
Yeah,
I'm not sure they're ever going to. And there's certainly an old debate about, is it completely material or not? Is there something immaterial going on there? It sure seems like there is, um,
yeah,
and that's turned into concepts like the soul and different things like that. But wouldn't it be fascinating, man, if consciousness somehow endures when this body dies? It's as I've said a bunch of times on this podcast, it's one of those questions that we will never know well, we might know the answer to it later, but it's something we can't know, and yet as humans, we have the unique. Your dog there does not think about it. Uh,
yeah, for sure.
my
Well, that
cat,
we know of.
right? That's true. I don't think my cat thinks about what's going to happen when she dies, but but we know. And so it begs the question. We can't help but think about it, and it's fascinating. All right,
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
Related to that, my last question, and I used to ask this in a little different way. I've come up with a new way of asking this question. If you could write your own epitaph and we go see Jacob's gravestone, what does it say?
Oh man, I wish I had a good funny one for this. I don't know. I kind of want to be like scattered. So there won't I don't think there will be one.
Okay.
Is that an answer? Like
Oh,
I don't want
sure.
to
Sure.
yeah, like I kind of want to just be like, not forgotten necessarily, but like freed from that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like I said, like the energy continuing, I think, we do know that people continue on in memories
Right.
and that's why they're so important to us and why
Yeah.
things that happen to memory are so scary to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would rather people have me around as a memory than as anything else.
And I'm sure they will, man. And hey, you're a great guy. I've really enjoyed our interactions together. I really
Yeah,
enjoy your
bud.
music. I hope we get to play together again sometime. And
Yeah,
I
come
really
on.
appreciate.
You're always invited to come join me up here. So
Thank you, and I appreciate you taking this time to connect.
yeah, for sure.
And I'll
Thank
let
you
you
for connecting with me.
know when this episode is released on YouTube, and I'll see you
Okay.
down the road, man.
Okay. Bye, buddy. I'll
Take
see you
care.
later.
Bye bye.